Everyone gets angry at some point, and even though it's rarely a proud moment, it's kind of reality. Studio 5 relationship coach Dr. Matt Townsend is here with a few strategies to help us manage that anger situation.
We all get angry, right?
Well, yeah, unfortunately.
Well, I mean, there's a few that don't, but they don't probably get anything, right? They don't get, they just are kind of numb to life. Anger's normal. It's a normal emotion. Is it, let me ask you this, and just check your gut when I ask you. Is it positive or negative?
Well, negative.
Interesting. We automatically think it's negative. Good or bad?
Bad.
Interesting. So when we think about it, we automatically have this ugly feeling about anger that it's bad. But what if we thought of it as something else, okay? So imagine a volcano. Are volcanoes good or bad?
Good.
Well, yeah, it's interesting. They're
Even
just
though they erupt every once in a while?
Now, when they erupt, is that good or bad?
Oh, I don't know. This is a quiz. I feel like I'm failing.
But see, what's interesting is when this thing starts to erupt, all it really is telling us something. It's just telling us that something's going on, and where it's erupting isn't really the problem. Something's going on really deep, right? So we need to start to see our anger as a volcano, and we need to recognize that this is a sign. Anger is a sign of something. And so if we judge it immediately as good or bad, we want to run away from people that have it. We want to, like, hate ourselves for having it. And that ends up just creating more and more junk for us. So 4 keys to basically figure out the volcano and to try to create a healthier pattern for everybody. And this isn't just for me personally, because I have my own anger issues, but then I have to deal with other people's anger issues, right? So we're playing both sides of the game. First key, I have to see anger as a sign. If I see it as anything else, then I might react to it, I might freak out about it. So when I see somebody getting mad, I look at it as smoke, as ash, as a little lava coming out, and I need to start using that to recognize that somewhere deep, deep, deep down, there's somebody that's got actual pain. Usually, anytime you see anger, you see somebody that needs help. They need love. They're not like crazy, but they need some help. They need some attention. They need to have something taken care of, right?
So it's a sign of something. And then do you try to recognize whether it's justified anger or whether it's just somebody conjuring up? Well,
most people just think it's automatically it's just normal. It's natural, right? So if I get hit by someone else in my car and they've totaled my car and now I've got to go get another car, that's kind of justified anger, isn't it? That's kind of justified. I should be a little angry. But sometimes my anger has nothing to do with something that somebody did to me. Sometimes it's actually kind of, it's a little more conjured up, I would say. Sometimes our anger is simply because I didn't get that parking place I wanted. And that guy's right there in front of it. Now move, move. Because I think it should be just the way I think it should be. So some of our anger is natural because we're being harmed, or some of our nature, or some of our anger is actually something that we make up because we're not getting our way. And everybody has these weird ideas of how things should be. Every human being has what I call assumed necessities, things that we think they need to be a certain way. And if it's not the way we want it, then our immediate reaction tends to be anger. The interesting thing is I had a guy come in who was so angry. He was so, and his wife would kind of nitpick and she'd get so mad at him and she'd start pointing out what a bad dad he was. And then all of a sudden, after pointing it out and pointing it out, he'd blow up. And he was so mad at himself and he felt so much shame. And I asked him, so what were you feeling in that moment? Before you went to anger, what were you feeling? He's like, I felt like I was being attacked. I was being hurt. I was being judged. And then I asked him, when was the last time you felt that judged? And he went back to his childhood where he was being laughed at by other kids because he had something wrong with his body that made him look different. And he felt that judgment. And I said, so it was almost like that little 5-year-old kid came out and reared his ugly head again. You'll notice a lot of times when our anger goes off, it's the 5-year-old kid coming out. It's something that we don't like about ourselves. A lot of times it's fear. A lot of times it's guilt. A lot of the times when I see someone that's really angry, it's because they're doing something they shouldn't be doing. And you're pointing it out. And when you point out what I'm doing, then I get angry. Now why? What will my anger do to you? If I blow up and get angry, what's your inclination?
Well, to get angry back.
Either get back and we fight, or you'll run away. But if we fight long enough, then I'll just amp it up a little bit more, and then you'll run away.
So can we be the triggers then? As spouses, as moms?
All the time we're triggering. And some of it is just simply maturity. Some of it's just, just simply growing up. But remember, if you're actually being, if there's a lot of anger and you're being abused emotionally, you need to go get professional help to deal with that. But a lot of the anger is just your child that doesn't want to go to bed. And you keep pushing them to go to bed, and you keep pushing them to go to bed. And so deep down, we need to dig deeper down into what the real issue is underneath there. And you'll usually see that it's a safety issue. They feel like you're controlling them. They don't feel appreciated. They don't feel respected.
And so how do we dig deeper then? Is it a conversation? Is it, I mean, how do we?
Two ways to do it. I got to figure out why I'm angry. So when I go off and get mad at somebody, I got to sit there and say, why was that such a big deal? And then answer the question. And then from that answer, okay, because they were rude. So why was them being rude? Why was that such a big deal for me? Because I felt like I was being judged. So why is judgment such a big deal for me? Well, because it reminds me of where I'm inadequate. And why is being reminded of where you're inadequate such a big deal to you? Because I'm not fixing it yet. And then usually you'll get down to a reason. So I try to do that on my own, but I also try to understand, help me understand, I can see you're angry. Can we just make it safe so we can both talk? And can you safely tell me why you're angry? And if you listen to what they say, you'll start to hear where they're really hurting. Somewhere in there, they'll throw out a lot of smoke, like, you parked your car and it was so rude, then your kid scratched my car. They'll get into all this smoke, but deep down, you'll see that I feel disrespected. And it'd be so much easier if we could figure out what I'm feeling and share that instead of just sharing the emotion. Get down to the deeper issue. And then the very last one is very, very simple. You backfill the anger with love. Meaning, whenever I see a child that's angry, my natural tendency is to fight them. And if I can not fight them and instead listen to them and let them share, I'm going to learn, I'm going to learn, I'm going to learn. Once I learn, I'm going to try to actually go back and fill in with love what I'm seeing and reinforce that I think they're great and reinforce that I didn't mean to make you feel bad and small about yourself. And you're right, and a lot of times I do kind of push you too hard, and I admit it and I apologize. But if we backfill with love, that also means instead of me stepping away from you, I step towards you. A lot of the times what that means is I might touch you and hold your hand and ask you to just, I want to be with you. I want to help you deal with this feeling you're having. I just need you to be calmer so I can stay in here. If they sense that I care, a lot of times it's the most basic human need. And if I sense you care, I'll be here all day with you. And you'll see the anger tend to go away. Now, once we've done that enough, we create a new habit. And the habit's not anger.
Does it take a long time, though, sometimes to make this happen? Do we have to be patient in getting down? I mean, I'm one that it's hard for me to express my feelings and my emotion. And so
it's totally normal. And anger is kind of just an ugly emotion. Usually when we do it, almost about a minute later, we feel pretty stupid. Once kind of we have the push of energy that's out of us, and then we're just kind of left looking dumb. So that would be a perfect time to have a partner that instead of like, I told you, look at you, is stepping in, comes over, hugs you. Now, the safer we make it for each other because we know we're loved, the faster we'll heal. The less safe it is, the more I stuff it, and the more I stuff it, the more I'm going to keep creating pressure, and eventually that volcano will blow up again. So it does take time. I personally would plan on a lifetime.
Great.
Because, and especially if we're not actively working on it, but this is just maturity, and this is just growing up. Some of us were handed really bad patterns by our parents. Some of us were just handed really bad chemistry. Some of us are a little more reactive. A lot of times you'll see men tend to not react, but when they react, they tend to go way big. And then they also tend to recover pretty quickly. Women a lot of times might kind of be a little angry for a little longer time, kind of a running row of anger. Not anger, but just tension. So we just kind of do it differently. We need to just notice what my wife needs, what I need, but make it safe. Make it safe. And then make some rules, like let's not do this anymore. We can't name call.
So both parties have to get on the same page, create that safe environment.
And then you kiss.
And then practice, right?
Yeah, always, You practice, and at the very end, a big kiss.
Okay.
And some food.
Kissing and food. Great.
It's
Where do
that
people
simple.
find you, Matt?
Just go to my website, matttownsend.com. On there, I have tons of workshops all about learning to manage emotion, get real, get to the starve stuff.
Thanks as always.
Thanks, Courtney.
We're going to control our anger.